Hey everyone, we will get started in just a minute. Welcome back to the WC to Life podcast. And we have three young ladies, beautiful. Yes, we're all young, no matter how old we get. But we definitely will be coming back to you after this commercial break in just a minute. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for coming back to the WC to Life podcast. And we're just waiting for our guests to arrive, and then we will get started with the topic of staying afloat. And I see one of our guests has already arrived, Mrs. Tyrce Davis. And so I know that some of my guests are kind of new to the co-hosting. So yes, I'm going to have some co-hosts with me, guys. So we will definitely get started as soon as everybody come in. Hello, Miss Tyrese.
Hello.
Davis.
Hello.
How are you?
I am amazing. How are you?
I am well, wonderful. So we are just waiting on two more ladies, and we will get started about 5 minutes after 7.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and get started, and I guess the other ladies will trickle in. I want to get ahead and get started because I don't want to hold anyone very long on tonight. Welcome back to the WC to Life podcast for everyone out there that is listening and to everyone that's going to come in. This is a special edition episode. We know that it is the month of February. We are celebrating Black History Month. And then we know that it's Valentine's Day this weekend. And so the Lord laid it on my heart to just kind of like gather some strong women together and have a conversation about staying afloat and whether it's relationships, friendships, marriage, giving insight of how to cope or whatever. And I do have one of my guests already here. So I'm going to let Mrs. Davis introduce herself to everyone.
Hello everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Hello everyone. My name is Tyrce Davis. I am a prophetic life coach. I enjoy to inspire, I enjoy to uplift. I also have a business under Elevational Life Care, and that business includes finances, taxes, and bookkeeping. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here with us on tonight. And so I'm just going to pretty much go ahead and I'm going to get started and just kind of shoot it over to Mrs. Davis. So we're talking about tonight. It's kind of like laid back, you guys. So we'll be talking about, different things. And so, first of all, we want to talk about relationships. And Mrs. Davis, I know that you are married. I am single. So it's like, so what topic do we want to get started with first? So let's just talk about, since Miss Davis, since you are our first panelist here, so let's just talk about marriage and how to stay afloat with marriage. What do you think that staying afloat and marriage, what all of that means to you?
What I think all that means to me when you're married as a couple, as a wife's role in the beginning is to be a great listener.
Mm,
Because being a great listener, and I had a hard time, honestly, being a listener because I always was a talker. I always want to speak. But during my years, because I only been married for technically it would be 7 years this year. So I'm
wow.
still fairly new married, but I've been with my husband for a long time before we got married. That can be another subject that we can go into that too. So, but yes, me being married has really transformed because at first, like I said, with me communicating and me just, I always wanted to speak. And I had to like search into myself and be like, why do I always speak? When do I need to listen? Sometimes I'll speak and I'll be speaking too fast, or he'll be like, see, I was getting ready to tell you you can do this, or I was getting ready to tell you it's a yes. So that right there has been a great accomplishment for me, is to learn to
Yes.
be quiet.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So that's good. That's something that I think all singles need to hear, even including me. Because when you say listen, I know sometimes because the woman and the man, they have different personalities, and I'm pretty sure when you come together or when you get together, you're not going to be the same. Nothing is going to be the same. Like you can expect for your mate to have the same personality and the same characteristics of you. There are going to be some things that he's going to do different, and there's going to be some things that she's going to do different. And so I do really think that that plays a big role in it, being able to listen to one another and being patient with one another. So can you tell us, how did you and your husband meet?
We met, we actually met high school. I was in high school. And when we met, I basically was speaking to him over the phone. It was like one of those things. He never seen me. I never seen him. We was just talking over the phone, and we was introduced by one of his cousins. Ironically, the cousin and I, we kind of like had like a. I was always the person who always hooked the cousin up with all my friends, and so one day he was like, you know what, I got someone to hook you up with. But the cousin knew all about me. He knew how old I was. I even
Wow.
lied about my age and everything. and and I was like, okay, what I got myself into, if he find out, is he gonna still talk to me? Because I lied about my age. I told him I was like 16, but I really wasn't 16 at the time. But it was like then I had to I think he wanted to like eventually meet me, and I wanted to introduce him to parents. And first of all, my mom was like, "How old is he?" And I was like, "Well, he is like 4 years." She was like, "No, ma'am, that is too old." And I like snuck. I tried to just do everything to see him, and then eventually, we started dating, and we ended up living together. We lived together, and then my daughter at 16, we had lived together and built a relationship. And then it was one of those moments where we supposed to got married back in my teens, but I said, oh no, I wasn't ready. I wasn't mentally ready to be married.
Mhm.
At 19, and 19 to me was just too young to get married. That right there, I wish, then I could have maybe researched more, maybe got more guidance, but I didn't know
Uh-huh.
how to seek out to get the guidance then on being married. But it took us a long time to get married. We actually got married, I was like in my early 30s, I want to
Okay.
say. And when we finally eventually got married, I think that was the correct time for us to do so. But I must say, overall, it's good that we waited. And then I noticed now that we maybe should have went ahead and got married, because my daughter, she knew that we wasn't married. And she'll come back home and be like, Mom, you ain't married to my daddy. Your last name different. And
Wow.
and I used to be like, don't be trying to I'd be like, who told you that? Who told you that? And she'll come home, she said, Mom, when you sign your paper, your last name is this, and dad's last name is that. It was her teachers. It was when she was going to school. She'll pick it back up. And so I
Yeah.
used to tell my husband, I was like, we need to get married. He was like, we ain't getting married because what her teacher said, and we was just okay. Like we was complacent with it. But we did not know that we was like damaging ourselves in the same sense of being
Yeah.
complacent.
Hmm.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. So how much older is he than you?
He's 4.5.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's like even when. So how long did you guys date before marriage?
Oh Lord.
Look, she like Karen is getting to the nitty gritty.
Look. We was together for like, I want to say, oh gosh, I want to say, was it 2 decades or 1 decade? We was together for almost 20 years before we got married.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
like almost 20 before we got married. Yes.
But you know what? A lot of people, they look at like even years ago, I was sitting there thinking to myself too, and the like I always say, the end of the thing is better. So it's like,
Yes.
okay, you've been knowing this person for a long time, and sometimes things happen in the process where it may take that time,
Yes.
or and like you said, you realize, okay, look, we got to do this, right. So we've been together, we care for one another, we love one another, so let's go ahead and just seal the deal.
Yes.
Just go ahead and seal the deal. And I've not just your testimony, but I've even heard other women tell different testimonies about how they met their mate, and everybody think they're going to get a what you call it, everybody think they're gonna get a grand story. You're not going, guys out there listening, you're not going to get a peachy story like these couples, marriage couples, even singles waiting. Even when we get to the point of meeting our mate, it's not. Don't think that your story is going to be like someone else, or don't think your story is going to be so perfect that you're not going to go through anything. Because even going through those steps, I'm pretty sure you're going to run into situation where you're not ready, or you may be fearful, or you'd be like, okay, well, we'll just wait, or we'll just wait until the time is right or whatever. But the fact of, you can be like, okay, we got to go ahead and just seal the deal. We got to just go ahead and, what I'm saying, get this right or whatever. So, even in your, like you said, you've been married for 7 years. Is that correct?
Yes, it'll be 7 years in October. Yes.
Okay, so 7 years in October. So, like you said, it's still fresh or whatever. Without those, even within these 6 years,
Yes.
what are you learning, or how are you growing, fitting as a wife? You're already a mother or whatever. So how is it any different?
Absolutely, it's different. And the people always say, seal the deal, get married. It's nothing but a piece of paper. That is a lie. That is a lie, because I think when you sign the paper and you actually, get married, it's a whole different level. It's more like, okay, we're now basically in the home ownership type. We in it together. Like everything we do, it should be together,
Yeah.
and everything fall in place. But everything has started to fall in place. I noticed that I was more open being married. I'd be like, well, I did this or I did that. And I feel like I can talk better to him. We could communicate. And he could just be upfront. We are night and day. We are definitely night and day, but opposite does attract. So, yes, we're definitely night and day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think that people think they're going to hear stories of like, well, I just know she's going to, he or she going to tell me, it's going to all be the same. No, it's going to be the different. And I did hear this quote where I heard this in a song that, you know, your life is going to be new, even though you know that person, but it's going to be new. It's going to be different. It's something that, I even heard this, and you can correct me, if I'm wrong, Mrs. Davis, but they said that you'll never be ready. People think, okay, well, I got to be ready for this already. I did hear a quote that you'll never be ready. It's going to be new. So it's something that you just have to adjust to.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that, because honestly, the day we got married, he was like, "You ready? You ready?" And it was so funny because I had came home from work and I was like, what is, you come home from work, because he was like, we're gonna go ahead and go to the courthouse, we're gonna go ahead and do it, we're gonna let your uncle, marry us. And I get off of work and I knew my truth, I'm putting it out here. I didn't came home, then wash my face, got my little stuff together. I didn't apply no makeup. I didn't do nothing. When I say I was a sight honey on the on the outside, but it was just because my mentally just wasn't ready. It was like, yes, I'm ready. Yes, I'm ready to get married on this day. I'm excited. But then when the
Yeah.
day came, I was like, oh Lord, what did I just get myself into? And I couldn't take it back, because it was like we gonna do it today. We gonna seal it. We gonna do it, because I told
So we
him
got to go ahead and do it. Gonna
we
still
got.
get. So it's like you getting those, kind of like those, like what you call it, those little fearful knots in your stomach or
I
whatnot.
did. I did. I was like, and then the type of environment, like how you work in a big environment and you working around other people. They was like, girl, do you not know you already get married? And they was like, girl, it's gonna be different. And then I was like, yeah, you know how you hear stuff,
Yeah.
and it was all like horror stories. Like one person, she literally just got married, and then she just ready to get divorced. And I was like, oh Lord, and it was just I was around. I basically was around negative and didn't realize it. So it was just once we did it, I felt better after I said yes. After I said I do, I felt better. But going through that moment, I was like, but yes, yes. And it rained that day. It was just so it was just so good. A good feeling after the fact.
And I'm glad that you said that, because it's good to hear, because it's like, even though, when it's like you okay, like you're on a roller coaster, and when you get to that very top, you're like, when you're going up to the top of that roller coaster, it's like, okay, I'm fine, I'm good. But when the time gets there, it's like, okay, wait a minute, like,
Yes.
is this really what I asked for, I prayed for, whatever, and then it's like, yeah. So it's like sometimes that fear will try to come in to try to get you to stop doing something, but you know it's something that you're supposed to do, and that you're supposed to step in. So when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, the Lord gave me Proverbs, I think 13 and 12, and in it talks about hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, I want to share and give some things. Yeah, for no, I'm sorry, Proverbs 13, 12 through 13. I was like, I want to, kind of like encourage everyone out there, whether you are single again, single, or married, or whatever, because true indeed, I know that you can attest, Mrs. Davis, that even when you're married, there's different things that you have to do to keep your relationship close. We know that, God is in the center and always at the forefront, but it's like your mate, your husband, you guys have to make sure that you're having fun, that you're taking time out for each other, going on dates, even if you guys are busy or you're working or something like that. And even if you just meet for 30 minutes, an hour, y'all are still making sure y'all get that time in. So, people think that it stops, like, well, I don't have to do anything when I get married, but I'm pretty sure you do. There's a lot of things you got to keep working at because it's going to get harder. I'm pretty sure it's going to get a little tougher even when you get married.
It does. It really does. And see, for instance, like my grandma always told me, she said, whatever you start, regardless if you in a relationship, if it's your boyfriend or not, even when he be your husband, she said every habit you start, you got to continue it. So one of my habits I started was waiting at his feet. And
Mm-hmm.
literally, like he get off work, he take off his clothes, he get comfortable, he be like, "What's for dinner?" So I immediately gotta go in there, whip it up, fix that plate. He will not come in that kitchen and fix his plate. He will not touch a plate. And I have to like wait at his feet. I'll give him his food, I'll give him his drink, and he'll thank me. And see, that's just one of those things I have continued doing since we've been boyfriend
Mm.
and girlfriend. And I'm like, some days I'm gonna be very transparent. I'll be like, what did I start? Because because it be days like, okay, I have something to do. I have a session, and it's like sometimes I gotta like schedule things around my
Yeah.
husband and stuff and my children because he gonna tell me, he be like, you should have did that session 3 hours ago. You know what time I get off, and I'd be like, it don't work out like that all the time. And he'd be like, well, where's my plate? And where his work schedule is, if I fall asleep and them
Mm-hmm.
children still up, he be like, see, you're supposed to stay up. And them kids need to go to bed first. Stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
boundaries. Like we definitely have great you always call me when I'm talking shh, shh, shh. Yes. And so we always, have those boundaries. We always, could come together. And what I will say is just in a relationship, try not to go to bed, try not to leave the house angry. We done that like right when we first got married. We left the house mad. I was mad. Something was wrong with my phone. And
Mm.
we left the house just mad and not knowing that when we left the house mad, he ended up getting a call from a nurse telling him, hey, you got to get to Martinsville to see about your wife because I basically got my hand stuck in a machine at work. And
Mm-hmm.
ever since that day, I promised him, I was like, we could be mad. I said, we could be happy. I said, but I'm going to apologize. You're going to apologize before we even, being finished because we do not want that traumatic experience to happen again.
Right. Right. And I'm glad that you said that because a lot of people, don't realize that, like, you know, when you get into a disagreement or you get into an argument or whatever, because like I said, because those people have different personalities and everybody's trying to adapt to, each other's feelings and emotions or whatever, sometimes it's not going to always be that case. And both of you could be mad at the same time, or one of you could just be mad, and sometimes you just storm off and you don't say anything to each other. So I'm glad that you said that because that's right. You always want to try to you always want to come back and communicate and make it right. You don't never want to, like you said, leave or either go to sleep, be mad and upset or anything like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and when you said too, a little earlier that what did you say a little bit earlier when you were saying that just balancing and getting used to doing the things like like you said, cooking and taking care of the kids or whatever, and you said with the multiple sessions with your clients that you're having, you have sessions at different times, and like you said, it's like he was giving you a reminder or whatever, saying, well, sometimes maybe you may have to schedule the sessions or put the kids to bed on this time or whatever to work out your schedule, whatever. So it's just like that's important too, even for us to know, even as single, is being able to handle it all. And sometimes, like you said, I do agree. It's not going to always. You might have to switch. You got to switch your schedule around because it's not gonna always fall on the times that you want it to or whatever. So you just gotta make it happen and kind of work around that or whatnot.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. And I agree.
So, I mean, has even with you're stepping over into friendships a little bit, and I'm pretty sure you and your husband were friends first and for a long time, even before you guys got married. But even stepping over to friendships, how were your opposite friendships like for both of you? Like um, your male friends and his female friends. How was that like? Even with um, was that different? Did that change? Was there some type of um, boundary or anything that you had to put there, or did things just remain the same?
No, I actually had we had you give the cookies to Dad. Here, I'm talking. I'll give it to him in a minute. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
She asking for cookies and then Daddy want cookies. See what I'm saying? He wants the
Ah,
cookies.
see, look, you already was talking about it. See, you spoke it.
see,
You
see, I spoke it up. Yes, our friendship definitely went downhill.
mm-hmm.
My husband, he actually had a lot of female friends, and
Uh-huh.
before we started dating, like he just had a lot of female friends that came over, and me, I was okay with it at first, but I just started like sensing, different things, and really it wasn't nothing to it. It was just me, and I was just like, you know what, you got to get rid of some of them female friends. They just seem a little, I'm young, then I'm bossy. At that point, I wasn't submissive. I had no filter. I was like, you don't have to get rid of friends. And then vice versa. When I had him
Mm-hmm.
get rid of his friends, he said, well, your friends, they don't seem right either. So we actually got rid of a lot of our friends together.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we noticed that just certain things just wasn't right there. Like one of my friends then will know him and they were like, well, we can just text him, if you out of line. I'm like, wait a minute. It was stuff like that going on. So we had to like both just part ways with our friends, but it was hard,
Okay.
but we got it done.
And you know what? That's understandable because like just I like the fact that you two was kind of like conversating on it and having a conversation about what's good and what's not good for you guys' relationship. Like, does this friend does he or she mean well? Like for you guys to detect that at the same time that okay, this is just what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to cut it off, or did y'all actually step back, or did you guys step all the way back? Do you guys still talk to them?
Yes, I we still speak, and at one point just recently we was back speaking to a friend, but however, I don't know what happened, but we still like stay in communication, but it's more like over the phone.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. And that's and I'm glad that I kind of brung that up because I don't hear people talk about that a lot, and I was thinking about that just now, and that it's just like you have to take pretty much everything into consideration, especially when you're trying to make sure no one comes in and that no one has any kind of negativity coming in your relationship, or whatnot. And so I think that that's very important. So I'm glad that we touch base on that. And so what, even with friendships, I do believe that your husband, vice versa, just like a man, that his wife is supposed to be, their best friend. And even though it's okay to have friends outside, but you got to know, like you said, you got to know which ones may have to step away from and which ones that you have to keep, because they do have to understand that you in that role of marriage, and that there's things that you guys have to keep, among each other, keep among your family. You don't want any outside voices, excuse me, or anything to try to come in to, tear your relationship apart. And so that's understandable. And I think that everybody should pretty much understand that. And just for, I guess we touched on marriage a little bit, friendship, and now I want to talk a little bit about, the singles. As I'm a single, it's kind of being a Christian woman and being single. It's very, very different from being just single. And doing what you want to do. I'm just gonna put it like that, because even though God has promised you things and you are waiting, and some of us, God has revealed to us, not per se, God doesn't give tells us everything, but He gives us bits and pieces of things. So some of us, God has revealed to us, our mates or whatnot, and the grand thing of it is just, you know continuing to live out our purpose and do what we need to do, seeking Him and serving Him. But we can do all of that, and just being transparent, we can do all of that, but then it gets to a point where you still feel discouraged, you still get lonely because you're still waiting, and because waiting is not easy. And I touched on this last year when I did a um, dating series on Periscope. I had did a dating series. I touched on it. Even if you do know, or even if some things have been revealed to you from God, it's still, it to me, it's even harder, because God has revealed some secrets and things to me, and I feel that it is harder even when you don't know. And I don't know, somebody out there making a test or whatever, but even though you are in right standing, and sometimes we do make mistakes, because I don't know anybody out there who has not made any mistakes, that has not made any mistakes, but it is definitely difficult when you're waiting. And so just a little advice for me, and then Mrs. Davis, you can give advice as well, but just a little advice for me is, just to keep reminding yourself and keep assuring yourself of your promises. And guys, that word come up again, because we talked about promises in January, but just reminding yourself of the promises that is meant for you, and just staying afloat. And how you're going to stay afloat is, you know, keeping yourself together, as far as just working and serving, doing what you're called to do, and having great accountability around you, and just reminding yourself on what was promised to you. That's what will keep you afloat. Not saying that you won't have moments when you get dismayed or discouraged, because just last week, just a little testimony for me. Just last week, I was like, a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I want to hear a man's voice.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so when I say that, people be like, "You hear men talk every day," and I was like, "Well, I'm talking about like relationship wise." But then God will always talk to me, and He will remind me of those things. And when I said that, you guys, guess what? Somebody sent me a DM on Instagram. You see how sometimes that the enemy may work, and the person was very nice and nonchalant or whatever, but I read between the lines, and I knew that, okay, so this person is really trying to talk, because he just said something that I picked up on, that he didn't realize I picked on. And they left me an audio message. They didn't write in my DM. They left me two audio messages, and I was like, okay, I remember what I said what I spoke in the atmosphere. And I said, I'm not going to allow my mind to be tricked, because I said, I know that I want my husband to be my best friend. I know what God told me. I can't entertain anybody that's not my husband. And I said, so therefore, I cannot do this. And I was almost there, you guys. I was that close to messaging back, and then the only thing I messaged back was thank you and I really appreciate it or whatever. But the person had this long kind of like voice message, and he said he wanted to talk about business, but I already knew that it wasn't going to be about business. So I was like, I know that I can't allow myself to get caught up anymore. But it's not as easy as you think. But if you have conversations with, like I said, accountability people that you can trust, of course, with the Lord that would assure you, what promises were made to you. Trust and believe that you just continue to hold on, even though it's not easy. So, Miss Davis, you can, piggyback on that or express something if you would like.
I must say that with everything you said, it's just so good because now we're in a new like we're in something new.
Mhm.
Christian women that is single, we're now waiting. We used to didn't wait. We used to go for it.
Right.
We used to be like, okay, it sounds good. What we gonna go ahead and let he gonna take me out for a steak. Been there, done that.
Hmm.
And we're gonna
Hmm.
go ahead and go on this date, and that when you even get dressed, when you get ready, it don't feel right, but you still do it because it's the flesh. But now this is the year of the clarity and the dating of Christians. Women is so different. Like so many Christian women is single because they honoring the voice, what they heard from God. When God says that He is going to send you the king, He's going to send you everything you ask for in that
Yes,
journal.
yes.
And just like look at Abraham, look how many years Abraham waited for his promise. Not saying
Ooh,
that you're going to wait 40 years for your king. We're not speaking that you're going to wait 40 years for your husband. When you speak
right.
that your husband's going to be your best friend, that's the promise that God is going to give you. And so that's what I learned. That's what I learned now. I always say, write it down, look at it, date it out, what you see, what you saw about this, about your mate that's coming, because God already know what he look like. He already know what he gonna smell like. He
That's
already
right.
know what kind of car he gonna drive. He already know what kind of credit he gonna have. He gonna have great credit, okay? And he ain't gonna have
That's
nothing on
right.
his, what I'm saying? He ain't gonna have nothing. He gonna have everything going. He gonna have goals. He gonna have goals. He gonna have so much which you can't even handle. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I always said, people always were like, girl, why do you think like that? I get this a lot. They be like, girl, you always say that happens. I say, yes. You're waiting. When you wait, you ain't just waiting on purpose, okay? You
That's
waiting for
right.
the purpose from God. The promise is from God. So you did great. You had, when I say your discernment was on point, although you spoke it, that you wanted to hear a male's voice, absolutely. You heard that male's voice and you realized that was not the call. That was not the voice that I need to go further with. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yes, that was not it. That was not it. So, mm-mm.
Yeah, and we got to be very careful because it's easy for us. We can like you said, we can speak things in our mind or whatever, and we've been like, then you have to use your discernment and be like, okay, so this is why this took place because I just said that or I just did that. So it's like, okay, guys. So from now on, we just gonna have conversations or whatever, and I'm gonna tell you how I feel because guys, some days you do not feel you're not good. Some days you got to
Mm-hmm.
be honest and be like, Lord, I'm not good. Or you tell a friend, a close one, someone that's closest to you that you can confide in, I'm not good today. I'm not good. I'm struggling, or I'm just a little bit discouraged. But that's okay. You don't have to stay there because again, like I said, just remind yourself on what was promised you to speak what was promised you. You can
Mm-hmm.
speak back what was promised to you and what you're going to receive. But again, as I said, just as a single Christian woman, that you're still, and anybody out there, you guys, when you do watch this live, you can send feedback or you can comment. But for me, I'm just talking about for me. I feel like you will always be having moments of loneliness. You will always have moments of wondering when because it has not happened yet, and that's why I want you guys to reference Proverbs 13, 12 through 13, because that's what God's word says. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is your desire to get married. It's your desire to have what you want and need, and the Lord didn't already promise you that. And so, but when it comes, it's going to be a tree of life. So until it comes, it's not going to be a tree of life yet because it has not came. But the Lord is the only one that can sustain you, and accountability around you that is going to help you, get through, because everybody has a story to tell. And, again, I don't know anybody that said it was an easy journey for them. So it's not, every day is not going to be the same day, because we know that seasons change. So every day is not going to be a happy day to be like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm good. No, there's some days where you're not good. You're just not.
Yes. And I totally agree with you on that. And that's where the man, that's when the self love kicks in. That's when the what we call it now, self care. That's when all
Yes,
that kick in. And then it's like when you have that friend, or you have someone you can just be like, you know what, even that friend ain't checked on you for today. You be like, friend, I'm not okay. And it's
that's
like
right.
they'll be like, you know what? Let me just send her a card. Let me just go over there and call her. Let me order her something from DoorDash just to let her know that I care. And that's where the friendship, that's when the bond kicks in as well. On that, because I get it. We are not always okay, and when we admit that we're not okay, that is when you're able to get poured into. That's when you're able to search yourself a little bit more
Yes.
and enjoy, every moment of it.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Tyrese, because self care, you can never get enough of self care. And self care can consist of several things. And you want to make sure that you're pampering yourself. I was just saying, on the episode that was released on yesterday, I was just sharing with people about how ever since my daughter was 4 years old in pre-K, I always, went out. I started taking my daughter out um, on Valentine's, or I would treat myself. If my daughter wasn't with me, I would just treat myself. It didn't have to be on a certain day, but I would do it. And I know some people be like, I don't want to go nowhere by myself. And I'm like, you will love it. Dress
Mhm.
up, you know, go out, have yourself a good time, pamper yourself, do something fun for yourself. You can even do something fun for others, and it don't even have to be doing stuff for yourself, but doing stuff for others will make you happy, will make you feel good inside. So I say take yourself out, enjoy yourself, enjoy your children, enjoy your family, and the people that you can call on, and not just stop there, but just making sure you're around people who care for you and lift you up and want to see you, live out this weight good, because you don't want to, like I said, we make mistakes before, but you don't want to keep doing this. You don't want to keep doing the same thing. You want to learn. We want to learn from certain mistakes. So when we get there, we can say, "Oh, Lord, it was hard. It was rough. I made it hit some bumps in the road, but I made it." So, yeah, self care you cannot get enough of.
You cannot. And I just like even the self care part, the love, it's just it's an amazing feeling. And that just helps, and that also prepare you like when you do decide to, whether if you're married, whether you're single, that's the time that you always need to have. You need to enforce it. And that's what I do. Like when you just mentioned about going alone places, oh my goodness. People be like,
Yeah.
girl, you would eat a steak by yourself. See, I would be absolutely. I would go get a steak, and I always find myself with a notebook. I be like, when I know I'm gonna do it, I'll be like, you know what? I have my phone, and I go out, and that notebook feels so good. I'm writing in it, and I'm pouring. It's like those are the great times. But some people
Yes.
just can't go along by themselves. I'm sorry. I don't need an entourage everywhere I go. I don't. I don't. I'll be like, kids, y'all stay here. Y'all text me, and I'll go. I'll go.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
I mean, it's awesome. It's just an awesome feeling, and you don't never know where. You just need to show up, as they say. You just need to show up. We always figuring out how things are going to get done or how things are going to progress, and you be like, "Well, I'm wondering this going to happen. I'm wondering is that going to happen. I'm wondering." You just don't know how the Lord works. You don't know which way He's coming, and I mentioned this once before that, we always think that things are going to happen in the same place or in the same area, but I mean, we seasons change, so therefore, God is a God that works in different areas. He's everywhere, so you don't know which way He's coming with things, but you just have to, love yourself, show up, and be like, okay, I'm gonna be good. And I remember, and everybody out there that is listening or will be listening to this live, when I did the dating series on in April of last year, it was a 3-day dating series that the Lord had told me to do. I remember a couple months before, God had just stripped me of one of my friends. And I already knew what kind of the deal was, but you know how you just be laughing and to yourself like, Lord, I already knew this. You telling me something, but you still try to make things work that you know is not gonna work or whatever. So, and I was like, oh, you want me to do a dating series already? You just pretty much just recently kind of like cleaned me up from some things and stripped me down from some things. And he was like, yes, I want you to do this. Like, this is your, testimony. And even in that, God sent someone to speak a word. And of course, you always have to test the spirits. And so of course, I did test the spirit, and I was kind of like, I tell folks, I was hurting, you guys. I was like, I was laughing and hurting at the same times. But for me to step out on faith and out of fear, and I had to open my mouth and speak to the Lord, and I had to tell the Lord. The Lord had to ask me, "What do you want? Do you want what I have, or do you want what you want to have that is no good for you? For destruction, or do you want the best that I have?" Because we have a choice in life, and everything in life, you guys, we have a choice. And so even though I was hurting, I said, God, I don't see the other side. I don't see what you see yet, but I see it by faith. But I said, I say yes to you, and I'm leaving. I'm going to cut this friendship off, and that's gonna be it, you guys. And after that, I just start, working in my purpose. I started seeing the fruits and everything. God revealed secrets to me that I didn't ever think that He would reveal to me. But because I told Him yes, not knowing, I didn't know what He was going to show me. I didn't know what He was going to tell me. But I told Him yes out of out of me not seeing anything. I was, fearful. I was scared. I was like, Lord, I don't know. I got to start over again. And that's why, guys, we've been talking about starting over in this month. We've been talking about fresh start in this month, Mrs. Davis, and I kind of mentioned that too about how we don't want to start over because we don't know what's coming. But see, like John said, there's a blessing in. He said, God said, "Blessed are those who believe and yet have not seen." There's a blessing in saying yes when you don't know and you haven't seen anything, and so that was just a little testimony of mine, and I was just like, wow. And I actually shared it again because God had me to share it again, and I was just like, yeah, I was like, shoot, laughing. But I still had moments where I would talk to God going down the road crying. My daughter would be gone somewhere, and I'd be going to the grocery store, and I'd be crying and still talking to God. And God was like, it's gonna be okay, I got your heart or whatever. And even after that, and just getting myself together, like I said, that's when the fruit started coming. That's when God started revealing things to me that He didn't do before. Why He didn't reveal those to me before? Because I was doing my own thing. You know what I'm saying? So He knew that I wasn't ready then, but He knows when you're truly ready.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. That is so true. And that's the acceleration moment. You honor, you say yes. And when we say yes, that's right. That was a plus. That was a blessing that you right when you said yes. So I love it. Yes. God
Yes.
is God.
Like,
God gives us those gifts. He gives us those gifts. And you be like, God, you sure about this thing? Even you be like, are you sure you want me to do this? Because I be like, God, this God, okay, God, okay.
and you know what? We still say things like that. Like
Yeah.
I said, well, God, well, something ain't acting right. I could say either this person ain't acting right. I'll be like, well, God, I'm seeing something different. God said, but I know you don't see what I see. You don't think
Mm-hmm.
how I think. You're just seeing what you're seeing on the outside. So I'm like, well, okay. So and he'll correct you. He'll straighten you up and be like, no, Now, and I still be saying, "Are you sure? You sure? You sure, God?" Yes. All you
Yes.
need to do is trust me. And so, um, just for what advice, would you give the singles, Mrs. Davis?
Oh, did you cut off? What did you say?
I said, what advice would you give these singles?
Oh, okay. The advice that I would give a single person is just to be patient. Be
Mm-hmm.
patient and just, I mean, it's okay. Like when I mean be patient, like you can hear, like sometimes this is what we fall short at. We're here like we can do this, we can do that. Words is words. Look at the action before you look at the words because words sound good. We love to hear words. We love to hear, oh, we can do this. I can take you this, do that, and we go. When we sometimes we'll go forward. We're like, okay, but my advice is just to be patient. Everyone
Yes.
has their king. Everyone has their king. Um, and a lot of times, also, my advice is don't go if you ever been in a bad relationship and you feel like you just can't get over it. Don't feel like everybody is in that same category because sometimes you will miss who you're supposed to be with because you're judging what you've been through. So if you ever like been through something like that, like tragic or just you feel like you can't get over, you don't ever want to date again,
Mm-hmm.
I say find someone you can talk to, pray,
Yes.
and also maybe get into a good therapy session and have
Yes.
somebody to help you because you have to be able to identify what's good for you next, even though the bad has already came, because always it will not be bad. If you said something bad, I have, we ain't gonna always have nothing bad. We have to elevate and have something better.
That's true.
Hmm.
That's very true. Patience is, and you said that word, and we touched on it earlier that patient is not easy, but
Yes.
it is worth it. Everything is worth it at the end, you guys. I'm telling you, it's well worth it. David said, "Wait, look, you gonna receive the grand prize."
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
hope deferred, hope deferred.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, we all, like I said, we all have, your story may not be like mine, your story may not be like Mrs. Davis's or whatever, but you do have a story or whatever. And you guys, we want to hear your story. If you have any comments or want feedback or want to hear a part two or whatever, please send me a message and notify me. I will receive it. You can send me a message on Podbean or whatnot. But we definitely want to make sure that we are encouraging one another and just, helping one another get through because we're all, again, like I always say, that we're here to motivate, to activate. And so, and we all in this together. And I'm hoping that you guys is going to have a lovely weekend and a happy Valentine's Day to, the married couples, the singles, the families or whatnot. And Miss Davis, if you can, I know you guys who have not heard Mrs. Davis, she was on my episode about what about promises on episode 34. So you guys who do not know her, I'm going to have Miss Davis to share her handles and how you can get in touch with her.
Yes, you can reach me on Facebook. My Facebook is under my name. You also can reach me on Instagram under Inspiration Coaching. And you can reach me on Clubhouse under Kingdom Daughter.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Davis, for coming back to the WC to Life podcast. And I'm glad that you were able to make it. I definitely had a great conversation talking about marriage and friendships and single. Thank you just for sharing your experience and your testimony and just the different life situations that you went through. And I know that somebody out there is going to take from it. So thank you so much for taking the time to come back with us. And again, you guys, I said, if you want to hear a part two, please send a message and just let us know and we can try to work something out. But I hope everybody has a safe weekend. And Miss Davis, I want you to have a lovely rest of your afternoon, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. I enjoy always being a part of this platform. Thank you so much for having me again. It's my pleasure as always.
You welcome.
Likewise.
You welcome. And you have a lovely day, and we will talk soon. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the WC to Life podcast, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.